You're on.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Sean. Got Mr. Don to my left, and Mr. Steve's behind the camera. Folks and family at Oakland Cemetery. We are here at Section 2 at Mary E. Wingfield's stone. The last time we were here was last year, probably around the November-December time frame, and we pretty much were at a point where the stone that we had found, the exposed piece that you see face down right here, it was upright at one time, probably about 20 years ago, and then the stone, just based off of the fact that this was a once abandoned cemetery, it was face down probably about between 17 years ago. But for the entire time that we know that this stone, it was never upright. And so what our intention is that we did a dry fit last year, and then we made the determination that what we're going to do is we're going to set the top half of the stone. So the top half of this Wingfield stone is going to be set down onto the base. As we said before, there's about 2 feet of the base that's below the ground, and then it's supposed to rain here in the next couple days. So our goal is we're going to situate the top half of the stone up, epoxy the base, slowly set the top on the bottom of the stone. While we do that, we're going to clamp the stone in place to allow the epoxy to set. And because we're going to have a couple days of rain here in the future, we're actually going to cover the stone so that way it minimizes the impact of the epoxy. So we have our 8-foot tripod set up, our chain fall. What you're going to see here in a little bit is we're just going to lash the top of the stone, and then you'll see basically the raise and the actual setting of the stone itself. So we'll see you here in the next cut. Folks, we're back at the Mary Wingfield's. It's actually Mary Wingfield Mahone at her site. Basically, we have the top half of the stone raised. We did a dry fit of the clamps that we're using, and it's pretty important because if you have a certain amount of tools that you're using, you want to test it out before you actually set the epoxy in, because once the epoxy's set and then you try to put the stone in place, that's the less that you have to mess around with, because if you don't have the correct number of clamps, if you have too many clamps, the right size or wrong size clamps, basically we'll just establish that you put the epoxy on the base, set the stone, clamp the stone in place, and then you should be good to go. So that is what we did in the middle of our cuts. So what you're going to see here, got Mr. Don is going to lower the stone with the epoxy which Mr. Steve put in place, and then we're going to clamp the stone so that way when the stone sets, it will give us the best level fit, as well as the alignment from the front of the stone to the back of the stone.
Okay, I'm watching. I reckon we can let that stuff sit on for a couple weeks.
Okay.
It looks good.
All right, so the stone is set. And we basically put 2 boards on the front of the stone and then one behind the stone, and then clamped it in place. And what that does, that will add stability to the stone while the epoxy hardens. It may be a couple of weeks, just depending on weather. We're expecting to get a lot of rain here. It's still rather hot and cold, just the typical Virginia weather. So what you want to just be aware of is your drying time of the epoxy. But what we're pretty sure of as far as the stone goes, we're going to remove our tripod, our chain fall, and the nylon strap. But for the first time in actually March will be the first time in about 20 years that this stone has actually been upright and fixed. We don't know how long it's been like that before, but Mary E. stone is set correct. And then when the epoxy has dried, we may do a final clip of this, if at a minimum, upload the complete upright picture to Find a Grave, and we should be good to go. But thanks to Mr. Don for his help, Steve behind the camera, Sean, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the section below. Give us a like and subscribe, and we appreciate your support.